Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is March 11th, 2023, and I'm your co-host, Thefatwizard, joined today by...
Lobos.
Today we're taking a look at Ultima Underworld.
Yes, indeed.
It's subfixed with the Stygian Abyss there.
The Stygian Abyss, yeah.
Yeah. So this is released in North America March 21st, 1992, and of course on the PC.
1992, over 30 years ago, man. Wow.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things to set up here, and I saw it mentioned over and over in your chat. We're gonna see this. This is a first-person dungeon crawling. It's got shimmering textures. It's really bad movement. But the most important thing to remember is that this was actually before Wolfenstein 3D even.
Wow.
So, yeah. Talk about cutting-edge technology. This was it there. But I have some things I want to say when we start, but I'd love to hear just like at a high level, Lobos, like give me your 30 seconds on this game. What did you think?
Honestly, knowing that it was kind of one of the first of its kind, like big dungeon crawler, RPG, big on stats and skill ups and that sort of thing, like I was really impressed. The movement, yes, was quite janky. It had its quirks. But kind of once you get used to everything and you understand how the skilling up works, and all that, then it was a pleasure to play, and a lot of really great puzzles and stuff to really rack your brain over.
Yeah, for me, I'm so torn on this game, and for me, I hated it and I loved it, and it was way too long. But I wanted to play it longer, and it was just like so much of this game like made me just like have all this. I felt like I was like the devil and the angel fighting, because there's like, for everything I hated about it, I loved it for the same reasons, which is really weird, right?
Yeah,
but
I get that. I get that totally.
Yeah, and I think part of for me, right, is when we play these games, there's sort of a time pressure. We know we have to beat it within usually a month. Edit the video, and this is one of those games where, because it's so archaic, right, and it's intended to be archaic, and I love it for it, right, but at the same time you're like, oh man, I gotta finish this game, and so you get to the point where you're just like, all right, just give me all the solutions, right. But at the same time, when you think about like those classic Dungeons and Dragons experiences you have, or role-playing experiences, this is the type of stuff I love. Where you have like this mystery there, right?
Yeah, and the perspective of it, I feel like if I was playing this when I was a kid, there's Ebb. You're talking to Ebb.
Yeah, Ebb.
I was mentioning Ebb. Just the face of the gray goblins. We'll talk about them more, but it's just such a, I don't know. I feel like it worked perfectly as an emote, so I've got it in my chat now, and it's perfect. We just recall Ebb at any whim.
That's so good.
But this game is like, it's first person. It's got a whole like darkness light system to it, to where you want to be, casting light or having a torch or something. But it's like, I feel like if I played it as a kid, it would be really scary, because there's just enemies popping out, especially in the darkness, and you never know where you're going to run into.
Yeah. And so, speaking of the darkness, we should talk a little bit about what the places we're in. Like, why are we...
Right.
What are we dungeon crawling about? So, do you remember like what the intro to the story is?
Okay, somehow I don't remember if you're in like the modern future. You get teleported into like a medieval time. Let's
It's worth noting that's sort of a trope of the Ultima games.
Really? Okay.
You're like the avatar.
Yes.
And this avatar always comes into this world of Britannia, and has to, like, he's virtuous, he or she is virtuous, and you essentially use your virtues to save the day,
save the world.
So yes, you are correct there.
So are you playing the game, a game in the beginning? I don't remember exactly. Okay. Either way, you're pulled into this world, and with extreme convenient timing, as soon as you arrive, the Baron's daughter is getting kidnapped by like a troll, and then the Baron's men find you there. They bring them to you, and he's like, you kind of explain what's happened, and he's like, well, if you are truly the avatar of legend, then you're gonna survive this Stygian abyss.
You've got nothing to hide. You've got nothing to worry
We're gonna
about.
throw you in there. We're gonna lock the door, and if you survive and bring my daughter back, then hey, cool, you're that dude. And if not, well,
I knew it all along.
Yeah,
right?
you get what you deserve or something. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I remember I spent the first like hour or two kind of running around, figuring out how to do things, because it's one of those games. It's almost like a point-and-click adventure, but you've got a full 3D and real-time space to run around in. Because you have options like pick things up, talk to things, look at things, interact with things. You've got buttons for all of these actions, attack, and then, I guess, menu. So, yeah, it's just really figuring out like your inventory and how that all works. And that took me a little while starting off the bat. I do remember, though, that I came across my first locked door, and I was like, well, I'm going to break it down. And I just punched it for like 2 minutes, and it broke. And I was like, well, they let me do that. That's awesome.
This game is ripe with that. And I put 20 hours in, and I really feel like I just kind of scratched the surface. So I'm going to say a couple things here and just see like if you knew you could do this, right?
Right.
So one of them is you can make torches by taking a stick and putting oil on it.
I never did that. I never did that.
You can the rocks, there's rocks on the ground, like gray rocks. You can use a mining pick on the rock to break those rocks, and then from that rock will be like little stones that you can pick up and use for your slingshot.
That I did know. Yep.
That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
And then this one actually took me a while to figure out how to do. I ended up looking it up, but there's like these little incense pieces there.
Oh, right.
And you can actually drop the incense on a burning torch, and then you can sniff it. And
then have like a vision. Okay, because I never did that, so I'm interested to see that.
We'll show that just a little bit here. And so there's a lot of things in here where there's interactions between items, and it's one of those where I wasn't expecting a game this early to almost have that like emergent gameplay type stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you almost don't expect like, oh, that actually works. That's crazy. And this game was made by, I forget the original developer, but they eventually became known as Looking Glass Studios. And they made like the System Shock games. So you can very clearly see the lineage of System Shock through this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I knew people that worked at the company that did a lot of Ultima stuff. If it's the same company, I gotta look it up. Origin.
Yes, Origin.
Yes, and of course I think they got absorbed into EA, and then the EA Origin, the application. I kind of tied those together. I don't know if they actually are, but yeah. Anyways. I did want to touch on the map system in this game, which I thought was really cool, because a lot of these games, some of them don't even really have maps. This one's got a map you find, you have to carry around in your inventory, but then you can click and you can type on the map. It kind of auto-discovers the rooms, but then you can type and be like, stairs here, or like, I dumped all my items here because my inventory got full. Right? So I definitely did that. But yeah,
you do have
really
to be careful about that, though. I did read, and I ran into this where if there's too many items on the floor, it basically does like a buffer overrun or something and starts deleting items. No. And so you could actually lose some of your quest items that way. So be careful.
Oh, that's scary. Yeah, I only did that really in one place, and it was kind of close to the end, so I didn't have too much trouble with that.
Now, speaking of dropping items, I'm gonna guess you went with like a warrior to start with, and you probably had a reasonable amount of strength.
So I went with paladin, and paladin was actually pretty high on casting. I think there's a bunch of skills. We didn't mention skills, but there's kind of what you would expect. There's specific weapon skills, so axe, sword, mace. And then there's like projectiles, but they call them something that sounds more sinister. I can't remember, but it's like
is it sling?
No, it was like
Throwing?
I can't remember. Like not bullets, but it essentially meant projectiles for any sort of like crossbow or bow or that sort of thing. You got attack, you got defense, and then you got kind of specialist skills like Swimming.
Did you put anything into swimming? I hated swimming in this game.
I did. I put some in early, but I didn't really ever see any fruits to that. But there's even like things like thieving and
repair, I think.
Repair and a lot of little side
barter, things. I think was one, or merchant or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, technically there's buying and selling in the game, but it's not. I kind of ignored that. There's enough stuff out there.
Yeah.
Magic, again, as a wizard, I focused on magic, although I very quickly learned that to focus on magic entirely was a fool's errand. You really want to have melee. So going back to what I was talking about choosing the wizard, my strength was really low, and your carry capacity is 100% dictated off the strength you initially get. There's no way to carry more as far as I know. So I had a strength of 17, which meant I was constantly throwing stuff all on the ground, and including some thread, which I was very upset I did later on. We'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah. So word to the wise, you want lots of strength in making your character.
I did. I spent so much time in this game just managing inventory. I didn't want to drop stuff. I didn't want to take, more than I needed. But it was always a constant struggle of just, okay, I'm still holding keys from the first 3 floors, but will I ever use them again? Who knows?
Right. Yeah, I just picked up a flute. What is that useful? I don't know. I'm just gonna put it over here, and oh gosh, now I need the flute.
Right. Yeah.
What about the mandolin? Do I need the mandolin? No. Okay, I don't need the mandolin. So
yeah, I carried that.
I want to talk a little bit
about
the wizard or the casting here, because it's pretty cool. I like it, but I also hate it. So the way it works is. So first of all, there's a manual, and the manual I had on my phone. It was like 90 some pages. I really wish I had a physical version of this, but it kind of walks you through the first, like, hey, here's the first half hour of the game, and one of the most important things is it has all the not all the spells. It has a good portion of all the spells that you'll need.
Right. Yeah.
And so you scroll down to the bottom of it, and it's like, all right, here's your level 1 spells, and here's your level 2 spells. And each of those spells is associated with either 2 or 3 rune combination. And so all of the runes are based off of alphabet letters. So, for instance, the A rune is called On, or A-N, and then the B rune is called, I don't know. Who cares? And it goes all the way down to like W, which is Wiz, W-I-S. And so for casting a spell, you may need like something like On Nox, and so that's the A and the N, and I think that like cures poison.
Nice.
And so every time you cast a spell, though, a different spell, you need to open up your rune bag and basically pull out these runes and then cast that spell.
I think I lost you.
Okay, so
I can't hear you now. If you're talking,
okay.
I see your light popping up.
Okay.
But
well, that's weird.
Is it on my end?
All right.
Oh wait, I hear you now. I hear you.
There we go. Okay. Little weirdness there. All right. So yeah, I was just talking. You're taking those 2 or 3 runes and then mixing them together. Every time you want to change spells, you've got to redo that. And of course, that's kind of difficult in combat because the UI isn't the quickest. The thing like spins around and you select them, and so
yeah.
But the spell is incredibly useful. Like at level 1, you can make your own food, and so that really helped not having to carry around tons of food and stuff, right?
Yeah, I love that system. It was a lot of fun. Like some of the spells even make kind of sense. Like I think it was like VIM equivalent was like Vim, which like kind of it means energy, and it would actually like cure you. Yeah. So like some of them made sense in that way. But definitely the spells that I used the most were like Cast Light, which just it gave you good sight compared to the probably 50% vision that you normally have. Create Food for sure. I used there was like I think it was absorb physical or something like that, which was like a early level spell. I don't know how much it actually did. I see you're using it right there because it gives you a little shield icon on the left. But I really liked the UI. Like they showed you buffs. I thought it was really clever. In the top, there's like a kind of a goblin looking over the frame of where your game space, and you could tell the health of NPCs by the color of his eyes. So if you hit an enemy and it flickered green, they were still like pretty close to full health. Yellow would be like damaged, and then red like almost dead. As well as the music. The music was very based on the combat as well. If the enemy was almost dead, they would play the enemy is almost dead music, or if you almost died, like you're in trouble, that sort of thing. So
I turned off the music very quickly. Because there's this part in the music where it just goes like
I know exactly what you're talking about,
and I'm like, oh god, I can't stop.
But you know what it is and my chat helped me. They were like, your MIDI is being routed incorrectly, and I was like, what? So I looked into it, and you could actually set in the sound config files, like what the MIDI channels like pair up to what instruments, and then it made much more sense afterwards. Because I don't know if you played the whole game like this, but at the beginning, whenever I would like aggro an enemy, it would sound like a car honking, and it'd be like, ha! And I'd be like, what's going on? Like such weird little beeps and bloops. But yeah, it just turned out you just had to map the MIDI.
Okay, because I thought when you step, so after you rerouted that MIDI, when you step, did it sound like boom, 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 like someone playing the piano?
No, it didn't. No. Yep, that was the thing too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was intentional because And my wife called it the piano game because she just hear me going boom, 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 boom.
It's like they're making fun of you. Like, I don't know.
Well, that changes everything.
Yeah, it was
I love this game.
And even then, I think people said that like there were still some sounds that weren't correct. So it's a whole thing of like modern PC. I don't know, but yeah.
So let's try to jump on track here.
Okay.
And it's good that we kind of set up the framework here, lay of the land of the game here, because a lot of the intro of the game is really just exploring. You don't really know what you're supposed to be doing, and so we just saw a couple things that are starting to steer us in the right direction. So first off, we met a dwarven, I don't know if he's a king or whatever, named Goldthirst. And he said, "Hey man, I got there's this beast in the mines, and we need you to go kill him." So you're like, "All right, I'm gonna go kill him." It's more or less a beholder, right? It's a floating guy. It's really, really cool. Yep. He's actually pretty challenging when you get there. When you get to the level, so there's 8 levels in the game, and he's on level 2. It's unlikely that you're going to be high enough to kill him. So you might want to go down level 3 or 4, get some XP, and then come back up and kill him.
Yeah.
But once you kill him, you bring. I don't think you have to bring anything. You just go back to the king and say, "Hey, I killed him," and he gives you a gem cutter, right? If I'm right.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yep. Yeah. A tool.
So that's the first thing we will need to give to someone else. The second thing is we've kind of learned a little bit about the lore of this area. There's this dude named Sir Cabrius,
like Cabirus,
yeah. And he tried to like unite all of the factions in the Stygian Abyss here, which is actually kind of interesting. This isn't like you're going in and there's just orcs and goblins all trying to kill you.
Right.
It's like, well, there are, but there's also people living down here, and there's almost like civilizations and factions, and they used to get along, and with his death, they all kind of crumbled.
Yep.
And I think, is he the one that had the virtues? I think he did.
Yes, he did.
And one of the things he had was...
Yeah.
Yes, the talismans. And one of the things he had was a sword and a shield. And we go talk to this guy in the mines, still on the same level as Goldthirst we were talking about earlier. His name is Shaq.
The blacksmith.
S-H-A-K,
yeah.
The blacksmith. And he's like, all right, I do know about Sir Cabrius's sword. They were broken into 2 different pieces, but I could probably fix them if you could find them. And then also there's a shield out there.
Shield.
I have no idea where that shield is, but it's there.
Right.
And so you're like, all right, well, that's kind of some direction.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing now is we're going to basically go and try to find the 8 virtues. And again, that's kind of doled out through the exploring different levels. And what's really fascinating, sorry, let me just finish this up and we'll go over to you. What's really fascinating is it's almost like at level 6, that's when you start to learn more about it. So you almost have to go through like the entire dungeon to be like, oh, I understand all this stuff on like level 2 or 3. Now I can go back and interact with that.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't even really know about, I mean, they would mention the talismans here and there. And so I'd be like, okay, that seems like a cool like item I could get more powerful, whatever. But at this point, I think my main goal was really just like, we got to rescue the Baron's daughter. And so that's all about tracking down, you get some people who are like, oh, I saw a troll go by here. And you're like, okay, the troll that was carrying his daughter or whatnot. And you just keep working your way through there. And of course, it's a dungeon crawler. So I'm always looking for ways to get stronger, looking for side quests, whatever. And there's a fair share of side quests. And a lot of them do end up granting you one of these talismans, one of these virtues, which honestly, until almost the very end, I didn't even know that you needed to actually collect all these, but you do. So you kind of, I at least had to backtrack and start doing all these other side quests that I didn't finish off. But we'll get there.
Lots of backtracking.
Sure. Lots of backtracking, yeah.
This is one of those games where, and we'll see this a couple times in the video, where you'll see something written on the wall. Again, this is like complete straight out of Ultima. Just a really, really archaic thing. It's like, I'm trying to think of an example. One of the things on a wall you'll see is like, go to the bottom level of the abyss and fight your way up to prove your courage or something like that. And these are the things you definitely want to write down because they'll have meaning later on. Now, I didn't write anything down because it was too hard. I was too lazy. I don't know. Did you have like a pen and paper in front
I
of you?
literally have a notepad. I pulled it up for this.
That's so good.
I've got all of these. So we didn't talk about it, but we'll have to go into how the skill system works because I have all that stuff. I have spells to cast. I have the entire language of the lizard people written down here.
That's so cool.
Because that's a whole thing to do. And then like notes about like pulling levers, rotating dials. Because I don't know. I mean, it's easy to keep notes in Notepad, so I figured I'd do that. But yeah, this is definitely one of those games.
You should send me those. I want access to those. Yeah, send me those. We'll put those up for our Patreon supporters just to see what the brain of Lobos has in this game there. That's so cool. I love it when you've got to do this. But again, when you're under a time pressure, it is very hard to be like, all right, did I miss a note here? And so I did spend a lot of time looking through a guide. And I'm really glad that I did because I don't know I would have beaten this game without some sort of hint book or, a guide. Yeah.
Some stuff, I mean, it's like, I don't know, a lot of earlier games like this, they'll have, puzzles that are not, they're easy enough to figure out, and you're like, okay, but then sometimes it's like one-off little statements that lead to, an entirely necessary aspect of completing the game, and you're just like, what? I would never thought to do that. So I had a similar situation where I was going good, I did everything blind until I got to the very end, and then it was, it's a point where it's like there's this evil monster, and you got to kill it. And now you need to go and figure out how. And I was like, okay, because I didn't want to spend if I had all the time in the world, I would go back every floor and just re-explore every little inch. But that would take forever. So the guide came in helpful at that point.
We just hit another big story beat here. We are on level 4, and there are both the knights here and the trolls. And trolls are they're friendly, or at least mellow is what when you look at them. They're mellow trolls. And the you hear about this evil knight here named Roderick.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
you go kill Roderick. He drops a key. I don't remember what that key does, but I think you kill Roderick and then come back to the knights.
Yep, the leader of the knights. Yep.
The leader of the knights. And do they give you a standard? I think.
Yes. Yeah, they give you a battle
Yeah.
standard, like a big flag, and that's one of the virtues or talismans.
Yes.
And
they don't make a. Go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say they don't mention anything of it actually being a talisman.
Yeah.
You just have this big flag in your inventory, and you're like, okay, cool, maybe I could sell it. Like, but no, it is a required item to fully beat the game.
I did almost get into trouble because you can throw items in the lava, and there's a book here, and I picked it up actually a lower level. I picked up a book and it said Book of Humility. I was like, I don't know what this is, and I just threw it on the ground. And then I'm like, oh, I read the guide. I'm like, oh, okay, I actually need that book, so I went back and got it. I'm really glad I didn't throw it in the lava because you can soft lock yourself. That's totally a thing.
I mean, I could see, though, like, there's points in this game where you're like, okay, that could be the end of my journey. And,
that's cool.
Obviously, you don't roll credits or anything, but, like, I could consider that, you know, these days being an alternate ending. Like, you do the thing, but you didn't 100%. You didn't get the true ending. But, and I guess running through this again wouldn't be the worst since you kind of know what's going on already, but it's a lengthy game, so it's no trivial matter.
I saw a speed run. 18xx to beat it. So again, what's really great about this game is a lot of this, you talked about it being kind of an adventure game, 100%, because a lot of this is just finding out the information. When you know the information, it's very easy just to go, boom, boom, I got it. I know where to go and pick up the thing.
Yep.
And
once you learn the levels,
Yep. The end boss is just, give me all the items.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so actually, it looks like we did just get the standard here from Dorna Iron Fist. And the way that this works is, again, I can't remember exactly what killing Roderick did for us. That might be one of these things where we now get access to join the order.
I remember that. No, you can join the order before that. And then there's a soldier or a knight that they said they sent out to kill Roderick, a.k.a. the Chaos Knight. And they were like, don't come back until he's dead. And he's posted up pretty close. And he's like, I can't go home until the Chaos Knight is defeated.
Right.
And so you go and defeat him. I think he does give you a key, but I think that's kind of a separate thing. But you go back and he's like, thank you so much. Like, I can finally go home. And they just recognize that and they give you the standard for that, as far as I know. But yeah.
Because we did do a thing with Dorna Iron Fist, and I think it was joining the guild or something like that, where you gotta like put a cup to your mouth and drink it, and it's like, hey, you're gonna die. Do you still want to drink? And you have to say yes, and then it's like, okay, you die because your past life is gone.
You're
now
reborn now.
Yeah.
As a knight of exactly.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Lakshi Longtooth and the stew that you have to make for him and what you're going to get from that?
Right.
Do you want to take that over?
Sure, yeah. So let me try and remember. At some point, you managed to recover a recipe for this worm stew.
I think it's like part of a quest.
Yeah,
you have
is
to give
it?
someone like a red gem maybe or something on the second floor?
Maybe so. Yeah, it's all a bit fuzzy to me, but at some point, you learn how to make this stew, a rotworm stew, I think it's called. And it requires a couple ingredients. You need a bowl. I think you need a rotworm corpse.
Yep, and some
port wine. Yeah. Or port ale, yeah. And kind of the tricky thing is if you haven't kept a rotworm corpse around you this whole time, or at least recently, like, they're tough. They're like early level enemies, and nothing in this game respawns. So if you already killed them, sometimes the corpses will just despawn, and you better hope that you can find another one on another floor or somewhere else. And I was having that issue, but I managed to find one around like floor 4 or something like that. So you put it all in the bowl. I think you have to actually use the interact button on the recipe and it'll create the soup. But Lakshmi?
Lakshi, I think.
Lakshi, long tooth.
Yeah.
I think they said it's something like their mom used to make or something like that. Yep. And you bring them the soup.
Just like my mama used to make.
Yeah. Nostalgia. So you bring him the soup, and what does he give you? I don't remember. Actually,
he gives you dragon scales, right?
Dragon scales, which I heard that you had a problem. Oh, right.
No, the dragon scales I didn't have a problem with. So why don't you go into what you use those dragon scales?
Yes. On floor maybe 5. There's like a.
It's the one with. It's
4 or 5.
Yeah, it's the one with the maze with the zombies in it. So
yeah,
it's 5.
There's basically, if you've ever played Fallout, there's basically like kind of like zombie people who used to be true humans, but with a lack of food, they had to start eating like corpses, and that kind of morphed them.
As you do,
and that kind of morphed them into somewhat ghoulish undead, but still sentient and potentially friendly people. So you find a commune of these, and one of them is a tailor, and they're like, bring me, some tailoring goods, and I can make something for you. And what you need is dragon scales, and you need thread. Is that it?
That's all you need.
That's all you need. And you get some dragon scale boots, which are amazing and convenient for allowing you
almost necessary.
Almost necessary.
You can beat it without it, but it's annoying.
Painfully slow, yeah. But they allow you to walk on lava. And one of the nice things is most of the equipment in the game has durability, but these do not. So you never have to worry about repairing them or breaking ever. And I don't know how good they are defense-wise, but walking on lava it allows you to reach so many places in the later levels, so it's pretty much necessary. However, if you'd like to explain your situation.
Yeah, I threw away, because I needed to carry other stuff, so I threw away my thread. And, like Lobo said, sometimes the stuff either just disappears or, honestly, there's by then I'd been to 6 levels of the dungeon. Which corner did I throw a piece of thread in?
Exactly.
I mean, come on, no one's going to figure that out.
Yeah.
So now we just made it down to this woman named Judy. You can see this is the first instance of lava. And so Judy, we actually a little bit earlier, we saw a little plaque on the wall that said Tom loves Judy. So it kind of seems innocuous, but it's just kind of a hint or a little foreshadowing of something that's going on here. So you see this mage here on level 5 and really infatuated with her lover named Tom. Said, Tom went away somewhere. She really loves him. She really wants a picture of Tom. And so it really seems like a side quest, doesn't it?
Right,
like,
yeah.
If I happen upon it, I guess I'll give you a picture. But,
yeah.
That's going to be critical for us here in a little bit.
But yeah, she's really the story is she I think she was witnessing Tom and like a goblin or something fighting it out, and they went boom, head straight into the lava. And she's just like, I've just been waiting here for however many years for him to come out. And it's like, oh no.
Lady, I don't want to be the one to tell her.
No. But yeah, we might find a photo for her later, and maybe that'll help us on our journey. So
now let's now that we're talking about lava, one of the things one might want to do is jump over the lava. And that should be pretty easy because it's just one little space here. But man, jumping is certainly I'll tell you what, I wish I would have had quick save and quick load for my jumping, because the movement's a little weird. And I know that you know firsthand about the weirdness here. So do you want to talk about why the movement is so weird here?
Oh man, it's so I ended up, after I think the full first day, I ended up installing kind of a quality of life mod that lets you use the mouse to do mouse look. And it helps with some things on the movement. But without any of that, the things that I remember are, if you're walking like kind of at an angle towards a wall, the game will auto-correct you to like face down, for example, a hallway. And it puts you like parallel to the wall, which sounds like maybe it would be nice if all you were doing is running down hallways. But a lot of times you're trying to fight an enemy, and you're like turning around, or you're turning back, or you're trying to back up or go close to it, and it would auto align you in such a weird way that was really not helpful. On top of that, you would try to back up, and it wouldn't necessarily be directly behind you. It kind of depended on where you're facing. Sometimes you would back up. All you'd be doing is holding, S to back up, but it would go at an angle to the right or to the left.
Yeah.
And also,
so like if you tried to back up, you'd expect to go like 6 o'clock.
Right.
But based on how the level was built and where you're actually facing, it might turn you at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right? Or 7 o'clock.
And also at like 20% of the speed. So you're just like backing up so slowly while enemies are charging you. It was way better to just completely turn and run straight in that way. But I will say that the mouse look mod helped a lot with controlling it. So
nice.
Yeah. Do recommend.
We just met a dude named Ice Snack. He was one of the ghouls that you were talking about, Lobos.
Yep.
And he used to be like a musician or something like that.
Ah, yes.
Or he used to teach people how to play flute. And he's like, hey, I'll teach you how to play. Because I think he mentions, okay, is he the one that mentions that you can play it somewhere and something wondrous will happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, hey, and he's very vague. That's all he says. But he's like, I'll teach you the song. And so if you have a flute, he'll say, all right, you got to hit like 3, 4, 5, whatever. There's like 10 different notes here. And again, you don't actually need to complete that quest to know it. If you knew it already, you could go to that spot immediately and play it. And
right.
Get the thing.
Yep.
But before we go there, we're going to get the Ring of Humility. This one actually took a little bit of time for me because there's someone that tells you, so you go to this room, there's 4 switches along the wall. You have to hit them in a specific order, and the person that tells you the order says, stay away from the center of the room.
Right.
And so I was just like, okay, was it gonna is there lightning or is there enemies or whatever? And it seemed non-threatening. So I was like, all right, I don't, maybe when it spawns, a big monster comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I found when I read is that going to the center of the room actually like resets the puzzle.
Yep.
So if you go hit a switch and then go to the middle of the room, it will say, oh, you didn't hit that switch. So you basically have to go around the room either clockwise or counterclockwise and hit the switches, and you get a Ring of Humility.
Ring of Humility.
And then boom, right after that, we are giving a dude named Derek. He says he wants to like do some gem work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh, I don't have any tools. And you're like, guess what? I got a gem cutter for you. And okay, so we did that out of order because Derek, upon giving the gem cutter, he will tell you about the Ring of Humility. So
yep. And that room, I did it so much, I eventually had to look it up, and I was like, what's going on?
You did the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because all it is you just basically have to hug the walls while doing this, and because the center of the room is actually, I would say, large, much larger than I thought. There's like a platform in the middle that the ring will spawn on when you finish it correctly. And I thought that the platform was all the middle was. So it's like, just stay away from that platform.
Think, right?
But no, it's very particular.
On level 5, so we're still on level 5 here. Again, the little ghoul colony, they have a lot of really great information.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things the guy says is that there was like a wizard there, and there's like a secret passage. I think he alludes to that, and you can sure enough go and find a secret passage. By the way, I think in order to use secret passages, you must first look, and then it will say it's a secret passage, and then you can use it. Did you know if that is that true?
No, because I mostly ran around with the interact function, and I would just mash it on walls. However, there is one later that you did need to look at to reveal. Okay. Yeah.
Well, so up in the northeastern part of level 5 here, you'll see the graves of Sir Cabreus and Garmin.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna need to keep that in mind later. And then also we get a sword shard, I believe, from that.
Yep. Yeah. I think like the hilt of Sir Cabreus's sword, which is one of the talismans.
And I'd like to just continue here because I think this is like one of the coolest puzzles, but also asinine as heck. Okay. So this is getting the Cup of Wonder. When I read this, I was like, my mind is blown. I love everything about this, and I would never figured it out. So there are some tips in level 6 about this, and I don't know if you I'm assuming you looked it up as well.
I had to look this up for sure. Yeah.
So the way that this works is one of the guys on level 6 tells you, hey, whenever I inhale incense, I like dream about demons and stuff like that.
Right.
And you're like, oh yeah, okay. If you want to use incense, you just throw incense on your torch. So you go ahead and do that. And the first time you do that, you'll get a picture of a cup.
Right.
And the cup has 2 letters on it. Okay. And I don't know if it's randomized, but what you'll find is you have to do that 3 times. And each time the cup is in a different part of the day. So it's day, like dusk, and like twilight or something.
Okay.
It's very clearly like 3 different times. And so each of the cups has 2 letters, and then you basically take the cup that appears on the day, that's like the first 2 letters, and then the one that's like midday is the next 2 letters. And so you'll have 6 letters, right?
Okay.
I know it's complicated. It's super
I'm
cool.
waiting for
so
it.
You have you have 6 letters, and then we kind of touched on this when you go to level up. You have to actually go to this Ankh. And type in words, right? Well, so if you go to the Ankh and you type in these 6 letters that you've gotten from these 3 cups, you get some like coordinates, right?
Wow.
I actually didn't do this, but it says something like, oh, you're, X and X away. And so what you're supposed to do is navigate through the world using those little Ankhs to guide you to where this final location is. And then you go and play the flute at this location, and a wondrous thing happens. The Cup of Wonder appears. So that is probably the biggest and most difficult puzzles in the game, but it's so cool. I just love everything. When I read about it, I'm like, dude, Lobos, this is so awesome. But
that's very cool.
I
played that flute everywhere. I have it memorized by number. I could sing it to you right now. Do, 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 do. Because I played it in every single corner, just everywhere. I was like, maybe this is where the flute is played. Maybe this is where it is. It's just, it's man. But I would have never guessed that is a solution. I never actually got to burn any incense. I gathered some and I thought about it, but I just never put it to work. Oof.
I actually thought it was part of a crafting system or something. That's also why I threw away the thread. I'm like, I'm not going to do crafting. So
right. Yeah, little did you know.
Now, while I was on that long tirade, we actually picked up 2 more important pieces. I don't know if you caught those and you want to walk us through those, or if I just
let's see. I think you picked up the blade for the Sword of Keberus. I don't know if that was one you had already gotten.
Yeah.
I might have missed the other. What was the other?
The blade was, first of all, in like a little secret passage. You had to like click on the wall with vines. Which opens up a secret door. And then you can pull a lever to, lower water, and then you go get the blade.
Yes.
So now we got both pieces of the sword, and then we got the taper, right?
Do
you remember how to get that one?
Yeah, the taper is like there's a guy who's like I like collecting light sources, and I think you can pay him money or just give him food, and then he'll give you the taper.
I gave him a torch or something.
Yeah, I gave him 5 ham hawks because I have create food spell.
You can create all the food.
Yeah. It turns out that solves a lot of problems in the Stygian Abyss. So worked out.
Yeah, and this one's great. So it's the taper of sacrifice. Is it taper or tapir? I don't know.
I think it's taper. Yeah.
And it's the taper of sacrifice, and this one's great because you can actually equip it for permanent light.
Oh wow!
So there is actually brighter light than this, but this is actually a permanent, like kind of mild light. So I just kept this on. So you didn't know this?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
By the time I got it, I was, like I had said, I'd already explored all the floors, and I just went back with a guide to collect all the items I needed to finish the game. So.
Okay. And then we also went back to Shack with those 2 sword pieces, and we forged the Sword of Justice. So it costs 20 gold to do. But, gold's not super useful in this game, so it's just inventory space. But did you equip that sword?
So I didn't, because I specialized in maces That was just like, I was paladin, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go Morningstar kind of mace build. And so that's what I focused on. But I will say, it took me about 4 or 5 floors before I really learned how skilling up works. And I'll just briefly talk about it, because you find these shrines, and they're ankhs. They're large ankhs, like, U-sized. And you can use the speak action with it, and it'll say, what would you like to chant? And you would chant different words, and you find kind of near the first one, you'll find some placards that'll say, this is a keyword, this is a keyword, this is a keyword. And they'll when you chant certain words, you will earn, depending on whether you leveled or not, you can earn skill points for certain skills, depending on what you chant. Now, some of them are kind of multiple encompassing words that might level you in sword, they might level you in mace, or attack, or defense, or projectile, or multiple things, and you would get 3 skill ups every time you did it. So it kind of behooves you to, it's totally random. So if you really want to min-max, you'll save, you'll chant, and then hopefully you get, like, for example, for me, like mace attack, or like mace defense, or all stats that you want. And so I did a lot of that. But until you do that, if you just keep plunging down into the abyss, like, you're going to have a really hard time with combat. And I did until I started figuring that out. So, but once I got that down, then everything just got so much easier and manageable.
Yeah, the weird thing is, like, you might not, so let's say that you want to be a swordsman, you might not learn how to advance just your sword till, like, level 6.
Right.
And at that point, you've probably put a good 7-8 hours in the game. You're probably, the max level is 16, so you're probably already, like, level 8 or 9, and you're like, all right, well, now what do I do?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about rings, because there is a stat called lore. Did you level any lore?
I did, but I found that one of the spells you get as a caster is like the ability to name an enchantment, which is basically identify. So I was like, well, if I can just identify, I don't need lore.
So I went with absolutely 0 lore at all. And I would get these rings, and it's just like, nice silver ring. And I'm like, okay. So I'll put that on, and then I would just try to identify what they did. And try and figure out the effects. But I found some very useful rings. There was one that was like a moon jump that gave you very low gravity, like, big jumps. One of them...
It's frustrating when you hit your head on the ceiling and then you jump backwards, right? Which this game tends to do.
I know the one that gives you permanent levitate, which was incredibly helpful in certain spaces. Although you're very slow while you levitate, just kind of bobbing around. But then, a lot of the other things I didn't even know. So I'm sure you were able to figure out the enchantments.
Yeah, but... I found one of, like, resist blows. I think there was a fire resist ring also that I picked up.
Very cool.
So a lot of cool stuff here.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a little bit about magic with the identify thing. One of the things that was really I love about the magic system, and again we were talking about with the leveling up system, is that the manual has some basic information. Here's the basic spells, here's the basic level things, but there's actually spells in the game that you can learn through quests or finding stuff. So for instance, we just talked to a door, and the store's like, what do you want me to do? And you can convince him to teach you chain it's called sheet lightning. Which is like a big lightning sheet, I guess. There's another one where I picked up a scroll, and the scroll was like, I'm experimenting with summoning, and I only know one of the runes. I wish I knew what the other rune is I could use here. And so you just kind of experiment, and sure enough, you can actually summon a monster. We'll see me doing that when I fight this golem guy.
Yeah, I think I remember summoning a headless at some point, and that was pretty cool.
So I just got the best rune in the game, which is the Viz or Vim. It's the V rune.
I think it's Vis. Yeah, Vis.
Vis, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Vis rune, you get a clue from this dude. He says, "Hey, go over here. Go." Does he say, "Go between the two eyes," and then I think he says, "Go between the two eyes," and then go throw these 4 emeralds on these 4 pedestals and click a button. And when you do that, you get the Viz rune, and that is the prerequisite for being able to fly and do a bunch of other really great stuff. So once you get that, you're golden.
Yeah, this was just like a kind of an empowerment rune that would make spells that you already knew just stronger. So like, heal, you add Vis to the beginning of heal, and now it's a greater heal. Or
it's the Paragon.
Yes,
room,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, all right.
Exactly. But yeah, it would just, for a lot of them, it was just Vis on top of something you already knew, and it makes it more powerful. So that was super cool.
How'd you do it against this golem? Because we just killed the golem. Well, we didn't kill him, but we bested him in battle, and he gives you the shield of virtue, maybe?
Yeah. Shield of justice. Who knows?
It's a sword of justice. Yeah.
Sword of justice, shield of... Dang, something. Valor? Shield of Valor?
That sounds right.
Anyways, yeah.
Dude, you gotta keep up because we already picked up a talisman.
We're going fast.
And we're gonna go pick up another.
Yeah, so once I learned the skill system, I very much min-maxed like mace, attack, defense, and I became a god in these last 2 or 3 levels.
Yeah.
Nothing could touch me. And unless they used magic. If they used like ranged projectile magic, I was in trouble. But you just get up close on everything else, and they would try to hit you, and they never could, and you could just smash them. So the golem was easy work at that point.
Nice. Yeah, so once you beat him, he's like, "Hey, good job, you got this." And then in that same level, I floated around, and I found this Book of Humility. Again, it's kind of innocuous. It's just like hanging out there.
Oh, there's actually a cool clue to that.
Yes, I got that clue, but I didn't need it. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Book of Honesty is by the key behind the hourglass. That was the clue. And if you explore the whole map or whatever, you open the main map. One of the sets of rooms is actually shaped like an hourglass on the map. Yeah. And I recognized that when I was in the room. I was like, this room is pointless, but it's like, slanted very extremely in a certain way. And then south of that, there's a room that looks like a key. And at that point, I had levitate, so I just levitated over there, and that's where you find the Book of Honesty. So that was a cool puzzle that that was one that I figured out on my own, so I was kind of proud of.
Oh, you're so smart. Hey, did you? I cheated 100% on the Wine of Virtue, which we just picked up, because that's the one where you need. Is that the one where you need to
Wine of Compassion
from the lizard? The compassion thing.
Is
that the one you have to?
No, the Wine of Compassion is the one that is in the there's like a checkerboard room near the library. And
yeah, but there's hints to get there, right? You have to do a bunch of stuff to get that.
I think so, yeah. But somebody straight up told me at one point, like, southeast, lift southeast floor tile in checkerboard room. I have that written down in my notes.
So someone literally just backseated that
for
you?
No. I mean, one of the NPCs did. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they straight up tell you that. So I don't know if you just missed that or forgot or something, but yeah.
Maybe sometimes NPCs will say things and then never repeat them.
Oh, yeah, that's rough.
But that one is a little complicated because if I remember right, that one, there's like, you have to do something for a wizard.
Yes.
And then he will say, go to the library and pick up one of my books, and this book will have something Fanlo.
Oh.
And then he'll say, like, recite the second word, and so you go to the Ankh, and you'll type in Fanlo, and then something else will happen, and then somehow...
Oh, I remember.
I might be getting that mixed up with something
else. That might be a different one, but it might be the same one. I remember figuring out the checkerboard part myself, but maybe the prerequisite part. Yes, there's an NPC you find later on, I think, floor 7 or something, and he tells you to tell his friend Ilomo, that's his name, tell him Folanai is the word.
Folanai,
and you tell him that, and yes, he says go to the library, and one of the books has a 2-word phrase like Folanai something else. And then that second word, I think you give to him, you chant it at like one of the Ankhs, and then it gives you what you were looking for. And yeah, that was kind of... unexpected. But I don't remember which talisman that was for though. But I think it's when you chant it at the Ankh, then you get it right away. But that's definitely one that I looked up.
Yeah, that's right, because it says your skills do not improve.
Oh,
but then you get something. Yeah, that's right. Okay,
it just pops it in your hand.
That because the wine must be the one with the where you have to free a guy and learn the lizard man language.
Oh, maybe so. Yeah, which I did. I can speak it fluently now. Well, with my notes, but yes. That was a lot of fun.
You want to talk a little bit about this maze this helmet of navigation that we picked up?
Yeah, I don't even remember where you get it. You had just gotten
there's
it. There's a puzzle. Yes. There's
a little bit. So I'll set it up and let you talk about it.
Yeah.
So you go into like the level 7. You can then go down to the small section of level 8, which brings you back up to level 7, and you see this big treasure room here. And what's really cool about this is just full of treasure. And there's only one crown. There's like one crown that you want, and there's like 10 crowns that are all cursed. And so I love that, because it's just like, ooh, all this treasure is really bad except for the one thing you need.
Yeah.
And I can identify stuff. I don't know how you.
Oh, so there's like a goblin in the room, and he's like, he speaks in rhymes, and he's like, I have a puzzle for you, and I have the actual clue written here. Its one eye to help you is not bloodshot, and its size is smaller, not bigger. And that just means like the crown basically has a gem on it, and it's red, and then that it's a smaller crown and not bigger.
So cool! I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of mellow monsters in that room, and you can talk to them all. And that goblin kind of gives you those clues. But yeah, very cool.
But what do you use that for?
That's the maze. That's the crown of navigation for the maze room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. In order to reach kind of this warlock or evil wizard that
name is Tyball,
quote unquote, evil wizard. In order to get to him, there's this maze room, and if you try to walk through it just normally, it's extremely likely that you're just going to instantly die, and it's confusing. But turns out with the crown of navigation, you can see a yellow path that guides you exactly where you need to go through, and it's pretty long. But I recall you saying that you managed to save scum your way through there once.
I certainly did, yeah, because I didn't know.
Oh, my gosh.
There is a guy that tells you, there's a couple clues that tell you that there's an item, but I didn't know there was an item, so I was like, oh, gosh, this is frustrating.
Oh, boy. But yeah, you make that.
I eventually picked it up and found it.
Yeah, you make it through there, and then you find, the wizard Tyball, and... I just flew straight at him. He didn't use any spells because I was in melee range, so why would he use spells? And pretty easy to take down for my paladin. And then you defeat him, and he's like, you fool. Like, I was... What does he say? He's like, he was summoning this demon or something.
Yeah, I think his name was the Slasher of Veils.
Yes, Slasher of Veils, right? This obviously horrific being... And he was like summoning in it for the purpose of sealing it away. But now you've killed him. And so now he's just summoned. And something's got to happen in order to, put him away or deal with him. And I feel like at this point, this could be an ending where you're just like, oops, messed up. And that's it. But otherwise...
He's also got the princess there, right?
Oh, yeah, right. And he's got the princess.
She just teleports out.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm good, thanks.
It's so funny.
Good luck.
I think the princess was supposed to be some sort of vessel for this sealing away. But yeah, you open the gate, and she doesn't leave her cell, but she's like, yeah, cool, thanks for helping me. I'm going to teleport to my dad now. And you're like, wait, what? What? You could just do that? Okay. So she does. And then now it's your duty to figure out how to deal with this Slasher of Veils. And from there, you make it to floor 8. And it's full of lava. It's full of goodies. There's a lot of stuff in floor 8, including this kind of central chamber where you can actually go and see the Slasher of Veils kind of like held in stasis. And you can attack him. But but he'll very likely
if he hits you, he'll kill you.
Yeah. So I tried.
Of course, you got to.
Yeah. So how are you feeling at this point in this game?
I'm feeling great because we just need. I think we have all our virtues, and
wow.
I know this already, because I'm looking at the guide, but we also need these 3 key pieces, and you got to put those together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you remember how I was telling you about there was like a cryptic writing that said go to the base of the abyss and then fight your way back up.
Right.
We just are doing that now, and it's gorgeous because you walk through and there's just like walls of lava.
Oh yeah, that was
bright
cool.
lava, and that's awesome. So you walk up from floor 7 all the way up to like floor 3. There's a bunch of monsters here, and you get a piece of a key. And then you've got to go down into this crypt. And I think someone tells you that Garmin's bones are down here, but you can't tell which bones are his.
Yeah, they're just bones.
Even identify doesn't work. So the way that you figure it out is, because there's a bunch of different piles of bones, his is the only bones that won't stack with other bones. So, go find some bones, try to stack 2 together. If you can't stack the other one, it's Garmin.
Well, that's a clever way to do that.
Well, the guide told me I was.
I see. So when I went and looked for him, I think so right next to the bones, you also pick up a couple very strong runes. I think including this. Because I don't think I didn't get it through the normal means like you did with the emeralds. Like I didn't even find. I don't think I found any emeralds. So I was like, "How the heck do I do this?" Maybe
they're actually in the room with when you go in there.
Oh wow!
They're sitting there on the ground.
Yeah. So I don't think I even found that room. I guess.
Okay.
But yes, at some point you do find this, and with these bones, there's some high level stuff, and I was like, okay, these are probably Garamond's bones.
Okay. I missed.
But it's the kind of thing that I didn't know until I went all the way. I explored all of level 8. I walked over the bones, not knowing anything, and then I was like, okay, I got to hit up a guide because now I don't know what to do. And at that point, I think I had maybe 2 of the talismans, like the Ring of Humility and like one other thing, and I was like, oh, I got to go do all these. So that was my backtrack moment.
Hey, before we forget, I actually wanted to announce this just at the beginning of the video, but just a heads up. There are some pretty egregious flashing lights that are going to be coming up here when we get to the end of the boss. So if you're sensitive to flashing lights, you might want to look away when we get to the end boss.
Good heads up.
So, so you go in, you give Garmin his bones back, and he's got this very long explanation. And he's like, geez, what do we do here? And you actually have to type in like, talismans, right?
Yeah,
and
he's like, there's a couple of prompts where he's like, how could you, what sort of power source could you use with these talismans? And you're like, battery, magic. And then you type in lava, and he's like, yeah, that's it, lava. And you're like, oh, okay, lava. So you learn that you need to throw all 7 talismans into the.
All 8.
Is it 8?
All 8.
8?
Yeah, 8 of them.
Yeah, into the lava near the Slasher of Veils, and that will.
And then this is where the flashing lights will appear.
Oh yeah.
There. Once we throw the last one in, you get sucked into the portal.
Yeah, it opens a portal, and then whoa,
this is really bad. But
oh my gosh, mine was not that bad.
Really?
No,
okay.
I don't think mine did that.
Oh jeez.
Oh my gosh.
It's all right. So what am I doing here? What do you got to do?
Well, you're walking around aimlessly. Oh, the whole area was like this for you? Oh my gosh.
Is this not what
That's
it was like?
No, it was just normal.
Okay.
It's a really creepy, like, other realm. There's just weird things in the distance. Like, there was a giant fish. There's, like, eyeballs. There's lightning all over the place.
Yeah.
And I started to fight the slasher and figured out pretty quickly that's not the idea because he was destroying me. And I was like, oh, boy. But you see, like, a path. And so you start following the path, and it's a red path. And you follow it all the way, and there's all these creepy things, and it's easy enough to run away from the slasher. And at the end of the path, I think there's like a portal. Step into it, and it teleports you back to where you first started. And then now there's a new path, and so you take that path.
It's a green path.
Yeah, right? A green path, and now I think you take the green path. And this whole time, you're taking damage over time. And I
didn't even notice I was taking damage.
And I was so nervous because I didn't have any more mana, and it whittled my health almost all the way down. But I don't think it actually will finish you off. Luckily, it didn't kill me. But yes, you follow a path like 3 times, and the last time you hit a portal, and that actually portals you out. And the Slasher of Veils is now sealed away.
Sealed, yeah.
And that is the proper ending
Mm-hmm.
to Ultima Underworld.
Yeah, man, it is crazy because, you know, you look at the video here and it's like, well, the first 25 minutes they're kind of casually doing things,
Right.
and then everything just condenses into now we're picking up all this important item. One thing we didn't get a chance to talk about here, and it was just, you know, it's worth calling out that I would have been soft locked had I not been able to look up at a guide, is the prisoner that you're supposed to release by learning the lizardman language.
Yes.
And there's a warden or whatever that you're supposed to converse with that I accidentally killed.
Oh, no.
way early on, right?
Oh, my God.
Do you remember that whole sequence of how, you know, what you got to do, and might want to walk us
Let's
through
see.
that
For
if you
me,
do?
I remember I just did a lot of back and forth between. It's kind of cool because the prisoner is mute, or like, so they don't speak to you, but they know the lizardman language, and so you can type in literal words, like literal lizardman words that you've heard being said, and he'll do some like motions to kind of try and tell you what it means. So you might type in, for example, Tosa, and he'll like point at you, and you're like, okay, I guess that's like you. Or he'll point at himself, and he'll be like, that's you or me or whatever. And so you start to piece it together, and the guard of the jail is right there. So I did a lot of back and forth, just like understanding how it goes, and you explain to the guard that you're a friend, and that your buddy didn't actually kill a dude, which is what he's like been framed for, and all these things. And I think I ended up, just like most of my problems in this game, solving it by just giving the lizard man food. And I think he let him go, and you're like, oh, great.
Yep.
Perfect. So, yeah. But that was a lot of fun. It was just like a whole language learning thing.
Now we've technically beat the game, but we got some B-roll footage here. Did you meet the Wisp?
I did meet the Wisp, and I cast the spell that he mentioned.
That's so cool.
Yep.
I love this.
Yep.
So what happens here?
So
actually, do you want to talk us a little bit about what the Wisp is saying and then what happens?
The Wisp I remember less about, but he basically...
He's like, hey, I'm super powerful. I'm way beyond you. I've got a spell here that will bring an end to all life that you know it. And he tells you it's Vascal Corp.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I'm eager to see what you'll do with this information.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like information gatherers, and they just kind of, exist for endless amounts of time and gather this information. And so if you do Vascal Corp, suddenly just everything is just gone and empty. And I think even like some doorways are closed off, because I tried to like run around, and
I think it warps you to a new spot.
When I did it, I was in floor 8, and it kept me in floor 8, just kind of like I was sort of in front of the slasher area on a platform in the lava, and it was just there. And then I went and talked to him, and I think he was like, well, I'm surprised you did that. Like, that's very interesting. I'll make note for the future or something like that.
Oh, so he disappears where I did it.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I met him. You can meet him in a couple different places. I met him on the way back up to get the Key of Courage.
Very nice.
And this is just it's haunting, because you cast this, all of your inventory goes away.
Oh yeah, that's
all
right.
the doors are shut, and it's just like, that's the end of your game.
That's
man.
it. Yeah.
It doesn't say game over. You can just wander the halls forever. I'm like, that is absolutely amazing. I love that.
Empty. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, but let's go back to that little lizard man thing. Once you free him, I think you can tell his buddy that you freed him or something like that, and then he'll tell you to go check the checkerboard floor.
Oh yeah, for the wine.
So maybe that's how you got
probably
that, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't get that information because I didn't get to free that dude.
Gotcha.
So, very cool.
Nice.
Oh man, out of breath here, but a lot of stuff to talk about, and I would love it. I absolutely would love it if someone who's never played this game again just listens to this and tries to beat the game just from what we've told you. 'Cause I think we got all the information here, but there's probably big pieces where people have to figure that out. So if you're up for the challenge, I'd love to hear from you. you come in our Discord or whatnot and just tell us how that went, because I think that'd be cool.
There's a lot to
Of course, we
explore,
had-
and
Yeah.
there was one more thing that I wanted to mention. Which did you do the mines where you have to walk over the blue stones and pick them up?
I didn't do the mines. I opened the mines, but that's how I got the moonstone and teleported, and I never went back to the mines.
So what it is like if you pick one up first, then whenever you walk over the rest, it'll automatically pick them up. But as you uncover the map, if you recognize it, it's actually the first level in Pac-Man. And when you're walking over the blue stones on the ground, you're picking them up like Pac-Man, like waka waka waka. And there's only ghosts in there fighting you, and it's it was just. I was like,
that's cute.
This is Pac-Man. It's cool.
You know, one of the things I really love about this game is it reminds me of the Tomb of Horrors, which is a classic Dungeons and Dragons module, where just everything is super dangerous. In some ways, actually reminds me of Shadowgate, right?
Yeah.
All these like things are really dangerous, and it's like just the idea of just sudden and horrific death because you tried to walk on a bridge or something, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this game is there's just so much of that classic, I want to say like 90s, 80s style dungeon crawling stuff.
Just kind of trial and error
delving
stuff where, you don't know what's going to happen. Just try it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that has been awesome. I could go on forever, but we probably should wrap it up here. So let's just take a moment here to thank our Patreons that we have joined us this week. We've got Truck Mangoni or
Mangione, yeah.
Mangione, yeah. So thank you so much for helping to support this show. Of course, we are in the middle of playing through Earthbound now, so we're going to get to that as soon as possible. Again, it's a super long game, so please be patient as we dig through that. So I think I've got a segue for the next one, but I don't know if Lobos, you're going to hit the same beat. So did you have a segue here for the next game we're playing?
I know what the game is, but I'll let you take it away. Let's see what you got.
Well, it's been 52 episodes, and that's a full year of content. You can listen to an episode a year, and so I feel like I've done a good job. It's about time for me to hit the road here, Lobos. What do you think? What do you think, Lobos?
I'm not. I don't know where you're going with this. I'm sorry.
It's because we're playing Sam and Max Hit the Road.
I didn't
Sam and Max hit.
I just remembered the Sam and Max part, so I haven't started on the game yet. So that's my bad.
It's Sam and Max hit the road on the PC.
Sam and Max, nice.
Because they actually released Telltale released new Sam and Maxes. So if you look at like Sam and Max walkthrough, you're liable to get
the newer stuff.
The newer stuff there. So
yeah.
this is a classic one. It's great. It's got some good humor there. So excited to if you're gonna stream it or if you're just gonna play it offline. But I hope you at least upload it to YouTube or something.
Yeah,
like that,
for sure.
I'd love to see you there.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think it's gonna wrap it up. Any closing thoughts, or do you think you covered everything you wanted to say here?
Yeah, I mean there is a lot to say. This is a big experience, but I loved it. Really think it was pretty genre defining in terms of what an RPG could be, and this was before any Elder Scrolls. So yeah, I think it probably influenced that a lot, and ultimately led to the RPGs as we know them today. So. Very good job. I did want to mention that I actually tweeted at Richard Garriott upon beating it, and he responded and said, great job, good warrior. And because some of his Ultima games, they'll say like report to Lord British, and so people will still do that these days and tweet at him.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's super cool. So.
Actually, yeah, because at the end of the game, it gives you congratulations. It says, please call
Origin, us. Yeah, at Origin, which is awesome.
They don't give you a phone number. And then at the end, they give you a little stat screen and tells you, I'm assuming you beat it at level 16, which is the max level, right?
Pretty close. If not 16, like 15. Okay. But yeah, okay. Probably. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, man. Well, we should probably wrap it up. So that's going to do it for this episode. Sadly, we have reached the end credits. And of course, we wanted to thank everyone for listening to us on the podcast or watching us on YouTube.
Yeah, we do a new podcast monthly, so make sure to follow, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google, or whichever podcast listening platform you choose. And as well, if you've got feedback, send us an email, SaturdayMorningGamingShow@gmail.com, or on Twitter @SaturdayMGaming.
Yeah, and of course, if you're listening to us on a platform that allows you to rate us, please do so. Really love to see that support there. And again, one special shout out to TechnoAxe for much of the music on this episode.
For Saturday Morning Gaming Show, I'm Lobos.
And I'm the Fat Wizard. We'll see you in April with Sam and Max Hit the Road on the PC.
Goodbye.